Welcome to the Wingmen Show. We float like butterflies and sting like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. My name is Drew Brown. Welcome to the Wingmen Show. I want to introduce to you my wingman, my main man, the guy who I think is so smart, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother Paul, today?
Good morning, Mr. Drew. Good to hear from you. Good to see you. We're going to have a good show today. Glad to reconnect with our audience, and we thank all those who like, share, and subscribe to us and pass on this message.
Well, that's very good. We sure do. You got a badass jet behind you. What's that badass jet?
That's called the Saab JS-39 Griffin. You ever hear of that?
No, but it looks mighty cool.
Well, my wife, when I met her, she had a Saab that was a car. And it's basically made the same company. They make airplanes too, just like Honda makes cars, makes jets. But the Saab is made by Sweden, and they sell them to South Africa, Brazil, Thailand. It's called not a Generation 4 fighter or Generation 5. It's a Generation 4.5. That's what they call it. The Generation 4 is like your teens, F-14, 15, F-16, F-18. And the Generation 5 is like F-22, F-35. Well, this is kind of in the middle. They made them in 96. It's a NATO airplane. If you look at it, it's got a canard. If I move to my right, it's got this canard up here. And it's like a forward horizontal wing surface in the front of the airplane instead of the back. There's nothing in the back there. And that's a design. They don't use it much, but it improves handling really low airspeeds and stall speeds. So it's pretty capable. It's got one missile that's I think it's called a Meteor missile beyond visual range. It goes out to about 80 miles. But
that's super cool, man. It really looks nice. Yeah. You see those bad jets behind me? Those are Super Hornets. They're bigger, badder, and faster than the regular Hornets. But I wanted to tell you, Paul, you and I, when we flew around the ship, one of the most important things out there is gas. We always have to have fuel, and especially at night. Well, these Super Hornets can carry 5 drop tanks, and they become gas tankers. In other words, you can fly up to them. They put out their basket. We stick our probe in it, and we can get gas from them. But what else they can do that I wasn't aware of, when we were on our ships, we had different airplanes. We had A6s, A7s, F-14s, EA6s, S3s. We had all kind of different airplanes that had different missions. Well, what they're doing now is they're combining all these missions into one plane. This FA-18, when it is a growler, it is the same as an EA6. And it can blacken out cities. I mean, it can send electrical pulses. Actually, it can do a lot more than you and I even know it can do. But this thing can jam radar, can black out cities. It's a super badass jet, and it's pretty as hell, too. And for all you people out there who can't see it, watch us on YouTube. We're on YouTube, too, and you can see how handsome Dr. Paul is, and then you can see that badass jet behind him. I want to welcome all our frequent flyers. Let you guys know that our newsletter is out all the time, and you can get it on wingmenshow.com. The Wingmen Show is sponsored by Magic Mind. We love it. Dr. Paul and I take it. It improves our focus. It improves our productivity. And their little saying is, stress less and do more. So thank you, Magic Mind. We'll talk about it a little bit more later in the show. But Dr. Paul, where I just came back from? Memphis, Tennessee, one of our home bases. That's where we flew FedEx out of.
Know it well.
Yes, we do. And there's so many things that happen, but that I can play harmonica a little bit. And I went
famous.
to a super, really high-class wedding there. I have to admit, it was very up there. Deshauna's son got married. Deshauna and Deuce, and they had a first-class wedding. I will tell you that. But I wanted to play some harmonica there. So I went to a music store in Memphis. Now, home of the blues. You can get a harmonica. I could not find a harmonica. How about that? I finally went to this music store, and there's a reason I'm telling you this. I went to this music store called Circle Music. They didn't have my harmonica. They actually helped me. They'll go find one in another store. But the guy there's name was Chuck Taylor, just like Converse.
Okay.
So he has all these pianos there. And I just made mention. I don't know why I said it. I said, My friend Keith Miller, he loves piano. He said, Keith, he buys them all from me. Well, if
really,
you and I both know Keith Miller. Yes,
yeah.
He treats these big baby grand pianos like his girlfriend. I mean,
That's the
he has
place.
big time pianos. Anyway, he was so excited. And so that's why I had to give a shout out to Chuck Taylor from Circle Music. He found me a harmonica. I didn't get to play, but he knew our friend Keith. How about that?
It shows you how small the world is. He told me about this place all the time. I had no idea you'd walk into it.
No way.
Yeah, he talked about it all the time. Folks took care of his piano and moved it and stuff going to Arizona. Wow.
That's amazing. Well, the thing is, he told me about the whole trip of getting this big ass piano to Arizona. It was an amazing thing. But his name was Chuck Taylor. And you and I, if I don't remember any other name, Converse.
He's aware.
You know, my mama didn't buy, I'm going to just tell on my mama now. She didn't buy me Converse. Growing up in Harlem in the projects, you had to have Cons. Because if you didn't have Converse, they were called Skips. And they had a little song by Dionne Warwick. You remember this? If you see me walking down the street with skips on my feet, you know my mother is cheap. So walk on by. So anyway. A little
cheap. I don't remember the mother is cheap, but okay.
Yeah, that was the no, she didn't sing that. The kids in the hood sang that.
Yeah, right.
So while I was in Memphis, Dr. Paul, I met a guy. I'm going to tell you, you're talking about the world small. We were staying at this hotel in Memphis, and a guy was working there named Paul E. Johnson. So we just started talking because he has an Enterprise hat on. And so I figured Navy, not only Navy, this guy.
Wait a minute, the Enterprise, you mean the rental car place?
No, the USS Enterprise.
Oh,
very good. Yeah,
okay.
The carrier, the aircraft carrier, USS Enterprise. And he had a big E on the side, which we know means a battle E. He didn't know that. He thought it just meant Enterprise. So I told him how good his ship was. But he also worked on the Lexington, where you and I flew off of. We carrier qualled on it. We had such a great discussion. Anyway, when he found out I was a black pilot, and when he found out that I did a show with you, another black pilot, Navy black pilots, it blew him away. He said he never in his entire career ever saw a black pilot on an aircraft carrier. So we just started talking, and he said, but I want to let you know something. I did something to stop that. Paul Thompson, do you know my man, Paul E. Johnson, has 7 of his close relatives involved in airline flying. He actually got nephews, cousins, his brother's children into flying, and 7 of them are in the airline industry today. And I am so proud of Paul E. Johnson. He should be our double wingman. But what a guy this guy is. What a guy he is. And I can't wait for you to meet him one day. But I'm going to show pictures of him and some of his family that are in the airline business. But that's how we make a change. Paul E. Johnson, I take my cap off to you. And Dr. Paul, what do you think about that?
Well, that's, again, the world is small. Once again, you're in Memphis, commonality. You get Navy, commonality. You get aircraft carriers, commonality. And an interest in aviation.
I think that's amazing. And you know what? Let's keep on with the Memphis and aviation. Do you remember the movie we were talking about? Devotion?
Yeah.
Which is one of my top movies now. Well, guess what? Our boss helped make that. Fred Smith, who owns FedEx, I believe you told me, maybe you could tell me a little bit more about it, but his daughter made the film or was involved in it?
As I recall, I believe his 2 daughters were producers or executive producers of the film. And I just found out yesterday that apparently he financed it. And the purpose of it was to take the proceeds of the movie and direct them to, I believe, the Marine Corps Foundation, or foundation set up for Marine Corps families for the benefit of children into the future.
Wonderful. Yeah, because he was a Marine.
Yeah, he was a Marine. Yeah.
One day we need to do the Fred Smith story, because that's an amazing story. And I happen to know Fred pretty well. And when we were flying there, I did a lot of speaking all over the country for the Navy, and FedEx was one of my supporters. But I just got to tell you, Fred Smith kicked me out of his office, so I like that. He let me come back, but he did kick me out.
Yeah, and knowing him and knowing you, it was probably justified. But we'll take it from there. It's probably justified.
Well, we had other pilots that we don't want to get into, but who were hating on me. So, in other words, They saw I was getting something they didn't get. Big deal. You know what? When people hate on you, that means you're doing something.
That's right. That's right. Everybody doesn't like LeBron or the politicians. You got lovers and haters, and that's called life.
But if you don't have any haters, you're doing something wrong. Because haters just mean they're jealous. And if somebody's jealous of you, that means you're doing pretty good. So tell them thank you next time you see them. Let's talk about the ozone layer, because I just found out some, weather here has been crazy. There's been rainstorms and flooding in California like crazy. Then there's cold fronts coming through here. There were tornadoes near us just yesterday. And I found out good news. Both you and I, we do our research during the week. And guess what? The ozone layer is healing. And in about 40 years, if we keep doing what we're supposed to be doing, they said it will get much better. But what I wanted to talk about, why is the weather so drastically horrible? And that's because of the ozone layer, we can keep more moisture in our atmosphere. And that produces more rain, more storms, more electrical thunderstorms. And that's why weather's getting worse. And somebody explained that to me, and I just wanted to bring it to light. But if the atmosphere can hold more moisture and the moisture can't get away, then it rains. It's a cycle from the ocean to the air back down to the land, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, they're saying that there are basically oceans of moisture floating above the West Coast. And that's caused all the flooding in California. I saw pictures from California. It looked like the aftermath of a tropical storm or a hurricane in the Gulf. Houses underwater. I've never seen that in California before.
No, 17 people died. I mean, this was bad. And there was a drought there. So that means the earth, it can only take so much water. And then it stops. And then that means the mudslides and everything else.
Right.
So every time you do something to hurt the ozone layer, you're doing something to hurt your great-great-grandchildren. And hopefully things will get better. You know what? I wanted to talk about something good. And they always talk about the ozone layer depleting. Well, guess what? We're fixing it, and things are good. So on my way back from Memphis, and for you YouTubers out there, you'll see this T-shirt. And for the people who don't have YouTube, I will explain it. I saw this brother, a good-looking brother, and he has a T-shirt on that says C.R.E.A.M, C.R.E.A.M, and there are periods after each letter, because it means cash rules everything around me. I will say that again. C.R.E.A.M. Cash rules everything around me. And I asked the brother, could I take a picture of it? He said, yeah, sure. He had a New York Yankee cap on, so he's one of us. And it just pissed me off, because it just reminded me what we're teaching our children. We used to teach, or what we learned was that you want to be productive. You want to be a scientist, a baseball player, an engineer, something. And then the result is money. Now we have taught our kids that all of that's not that important. The only thing is important is money. And that's what's ruining our children's thought process, because instead of growing up to work hard to be something productive, and money is a result of that hard work, they're just growing up to want money. And the only way to quick money is illegal. I'm sorry to say, quick money, unless you hit the lottery, there's no other way for quick money. And that just really bothered me, Dr. Paul. And, this show's out here to help people. Cash does not rule everything around me. The problem is, Paul, you have to have a little bit of money to start knowing that money doesn't make you happy. To sell somebody broke and hungry that money doesn't make you happy, that's incredulous. It's stupid. But the truth is, it doesn't make you happy. But because you and I have some, we now can spread that. Tell me, Dr. Paul, does cash rule everything around you?
No, it doesn't rule everything around me. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I saw the T-shirt, kind of a nice looking T-shirt. It's a good way to get attention. It's not a good philosophy. And realistically, people don't use that much cash now. People don't use that much.
Yeah, nobody uses cash.
Except me.
You do. I'll tell you. Yeah, I have a money clip that Taryn got me, my daughter, and it's very special to me. And I have my money in it. God forbid I have to go into that clip. It feels like I am tearing skin away from me. But credit card, boom, here, sign, boom. My Apple phone, click, click, boom, pay, boom, boom, click. What did you say, $14.97? And I got to get that $20 bill, and I swear it's like sweating in my hands.
Yeah, I carry a little bit on me, and I kind of feel good with it a little bit. But I won't spend. I'll use the cards. I use the card because I like to keep the money in the wallet for some reason.
And also it keeps track of your finances.
Right. It does.
That's why I use a card. Like I don't use debit cards because that's a checkbook, and I don't want to remember these numbers. I don't want to write notes. I don't want to do that.
Right.
So cash doesn't rule everything around me.
That sounds like something in a rap song or something.
It sure does. Let's talk about Magic Mind for a second. We are sponsored by Magic Mind, and this is not a commercial. This is just the truth. Ever since I started taking Magic Mind, my productivity has risen a little bit. Ever since I started eating right, I'm feeling better. So when I do good things for myself, good things happen. This Magic Mind has nothing but 12 ingredients that are all natural, nothing artificial. And for some reason, my stress has gone down a little bit, and I'm actually getting things done.
It's got a lot of good stuff in it. One thing I was looking at is that D3, vitamin D3, which is good for all of us. Typically, you get vitamin D when you get a lot of sunshine on you. But reality is most of us are inside now. We're not getting the sun. And that can lead to a lot of problems, structural problems, osteoporosis. And in darker skinned people, it can actually cause the deficiencies can have effects on your organs, kidneys, and other things. So I take some supplemental D3 all the time, but it's in Magic Mind.
Wonderful stuff. Well, guess what? My mother, Rhoda, and I am definitely going to put her picture up now, but my mama has told me all my life and has taught my children that when it's sunny outside, take a moment, pause, and re-energize. And that means look up in the sun, take your shirt off, and just stand there and receive the energy of the sun. And mama called it recharging your batteries.
You're right.
How about that? I didn't know it was the vitamin D. I didn't know what it really meant, but my mother knows best. And she said, you got to recharge your batteries. And I've done that my whole life.
That might be a generational thing, because I think my mother said that.
No way.
I don't know if it's related to sun, but something about recharging your batteries. I'm thinking about this as a child. Yeah.
Wow, we have so much in common. Your birthday was just a little while ago, and my birthday is next week. I love celebrating my birthday, and I love telling everybody about it. And trust me, I do.
Well, happy birthday. Everybody celebrates my birthday, so that's why it's no big deal, because it's New Year's Day. So
yeah, remember we had a show about that.
That's right.
I think people like you have gotten screwed. People like you have on New Year's Day or on Christmas Day or a day before, after, you just missed out on a little bit, I think. So I think maybe that's why you're so smart. How about this? I'm Jewish, and my grandparents were kosher before my grandfather got sick and he had to change his diet. But nobody knows what kosher is. The average person just thinks it's Jewish. Well, let me tell you a little bit about kosher food, because it's really simple. It's all about health. They say don't eat pork, and that's because trichinosis were killing people back then. People were dropping like flies. So guess what? They wrote, don't eat it. Second thing is, don't eat anything in the ocean that doesn't live in the middle. So you have to have scales to live in the middle of the ocean, because everything on the bottom of the ocean eats ocean doo-doo. This is what the wise men thought, because it couldn't be healthy for you. So eat the fish in the middle. But the only one that's spiritual is you can't eat milk and meat. And I told you about this, which I think is pretty cool, because back then it was possible to actually eat the baby calf. If you were cooking it in milk, you could actually cook it in its own mother's milk. And that milk was made to provide life and not to help death. And so that's the only spiritual really rule, is not eating milk and meat. But that's kosher. And I was just telling you that for the health benefits, because this subject that I'm going to tell you about, you talking about pissing me off again. I don't know why things are getting me angry today, but teenage obesity. 20% of our teenagers are obese, not heavy, obese. 40% of our adults are obese. And the reason I'm getting a little fired up is because they just came out and said that we can give 12-year-olds obesity medicine and 13-year-olds surgery for obesity. How about telling them how to eat and stop them from eating bad shit? Because obesity just doesn't happen. You have to eat your way into obesity. And now they want to give teenagers lap bands.
Yeah,
totally ridiculous. Talk to me, Dr. Paul, because I'm fired up. Somebody's going to have to take control of this.
That's crazy. That's crazy. The people I've seen who've gotten those lap surgeries, they don't always work. A lot of times they don't work. And the people that I only know one didn't work at all. Helped a little bit, but what you're not addressing is the psychological causes of those things. Because I've seen cases where someone had the surgery, but they still had this insatiable eating disorder, what I would call it. There's another theory that everybody's body, we have like a certain set point where your body thinks it needs a certain amount of calories. It's in the brain, actually. And some people's set point is just way, 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 way off. I've seen this thing on the body positivity movement, which is, it's good to feel good about yourself. There's no problem with that. But at the same time, it can be very injurious to play a weird game of make-believe and make-believe everything's okay when it's really not. If you're a lot of people have a hard time overeating and being overweight. But again, this is primarily a Western world problem. I didn't notice that much in the Caribbean or even in Europe.
Well, remember, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do. Remember, I just went to Italy. I ate pizza and pasta, and already told myself in my mind, okay, I'm going to gain 10 pounds. I'll come back home and work it off. Dr. Paul, I lost 9 pounds in Italy because the food is not the same. It's not this processed bullshit that's killing us. Honest to God, I ate like I was crazy because it was delicious, but I lost weight.
Well, that's interesting. And even the people in the body positivity movement, I don't hear them talking about nutrition at all. It's all like, this is how I look in this dress or these clothes, and I'm on a magazine, but they're not even going beyond the surface. There's something like really, 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 really wrong.
Yeah.
And it's killing a lot of people because look with the young people, look at the cancers that are springing up in a lot of these teenagers with all kinds of stuff that didn't exist before. Again, there are cancers going on with little children that didn't exist before. We got problems in the environment. But there are a lot of weight-related problems that you can get with cardiovascular, a lot of things. You have a lot of young people who they want to join the military can't because they're physically incapable.
That's correct.
They're weak. Their bones don't take much. There's stress fractures. They got to work out in soft tennis shoes, not Chuck Taylors. They got to have special foot stuff because they've never done anything. And now you're 18, 19, 20. And just doing a jumping jack is causing stress fractures.
You're screwed
on somebody. Yeah, and that's for bad nutrition, a lot of bad stuff.
Well, have you noticed that they're actually making being fat okay? There's a really nice girl named Lizzo. She's overweight, but they're trying to make it cool to be obese. It is not cool. It's cellular. You're going to die of stroke, heart attack. It's not a joke. It's not maybe. It's not kind of. It is not okay to be obese. Well, I'm going to curse, God dang it. I'm going to curse. Sorry, we may get kicked off the podcast. Self-control. Those are 2 curse words to a lot of people because they blame it on something else. It's called self-control. And if you can't get self-control, call somebody in, ask for help because there is help out there. Matter of fact, let's do a PSA. This is time for a Wingmen PSA. Make a negative a positive and learn from the past. Make a negative a positive and learn from the past. This has been a Wingmen PSA. My best story of making a negative into a positive is when I got into the Navy. We all have call signs. Yours was Ebony because you were highlighted in an Ebony magazine. But when they saw me, they said, and young people are probably not going to get this, but I'll explain it to you. They say, who do you think you are? You think you're tall, dark, and handsome? Well, you're not Clark Gable. You're Dark Gable. And I took that negative and turned it right then and said, that's the coolest name I've ever heard in my life. And then they started saying, too many syllables. Too bad I kept it.
Too late.
I took a negative and I made it a positive.
That's good. That's great.
Okay. You ready for this? Bad stuff for the brain. All right. This is it's like a NOTAMs, notice to airmen. That system went down. All the planes got stuck on the ground the other day. But anyway, it's something for another day. Bad stuff for the brain. I'm going to name it, and people are going to have to claim it. This is not good for your brain. And if you're smart, the brain is all we have. Being negative has a lot of negative impacts on your brain. What else can you do? If you skip your vaccines, that's bad for the brain. Sugar is bad for the brain. Unhealthy sleep, not getting enough sleep is bad for the brain. Loud headphones, drugs, no sense of purpose, whiskey, but my favorite is flossing. And you would say, flossing, stop being silly. I just learned that bacteria buildup into the bloodstream will actually, in time, get into the brain. And that's bacteria in the brain. So these are bad things for the brain, Dr. Paul. I'm sure you don't do any of them.
No. I flossed yesterday.
I use a water pick.
I have that too. I have one of those too, which are great. They've improved me a lot. That's what the dental hygienist tells me. So
you can do all these things to change your brain and start putting good stuff into your brain. But the biggest one is about being negative. You and I discuss this all the time about being negative.
Yes,
well, I am now. I wish everybody gets to a YouTube and watch this, because I'm going to put up a picture now. And I don't even know how to explain it, but my friend, Dr. Paul, while we work all week and we do this on Zoom so we can see each other and talk like we're in a meeting, he had the biggest smile on his face. And do you know why? It was from a counting sheep hotel. They actually have a hotel that have sheep around this dome, a clear dome that you sleep in and you live in, I guess, for the evening so you can get good night's sleep. And they have sheep all around and they tell you to count these sheep. But I just will tell you this, the smile I saw on your face, Dr. Paul, was one of the nicest things that's ever happened. And that's amazing that you could give me a feeling like that.
Just chalk it up to the sheep.
Yeah, but sleep is very important, is I guess what I'm really trying to say. Sometimes I get up, I don't sleep enough. I'm stopping that. I'm going to force myself to get at least 6-7 hours of sleep every night.
Yeah, that affects your health for sure.
And talking about the sun, do you know they have clothing somebody just invented? Let me give you their names. It's a Dr. Riley, a Miss Kentucky, and a Miss Abawakrama. I will show you their picture. They just made clothing that's solar clothing. You can plug your phone into your sweater and keep it charged all day long. What about that?
Wow. There's another couple, Tommy Hilfiger, I think it was like 8-9 years ago. He came out with something too, or that company came out with something. And it had solar panels on the back of a sweater, but they were big and clunky. It looked kind of weird. And it kind of did the same thing. I think your stuff is probably cooler. They had these big panels on these people's backs.
Wow.
And they didn't look so good.
Well, the name of this show we called How to Lose and Still Be Happy. And that's because we both invested in Ford. If you've been listening, if you're a frequent flyer and have been listening to us, we invested in Ford maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago. And I think we bought it in 7 months ago, actually. And we bought it at $14.90 a share. Right now, it's $13.44. The market has done a real big downturn. But why are you and I still happy? Because we know it's going to turn around. And not only that, actually smart financial people start buying more stock when it's down, because the main thing of this whole thing is buy low and sell high. Aren't you happy?
Yeah, I look at, if it's a quality company, is my question is it a quality company? Is it a company that makes good stuff that's going to be around for a while? And if the answer is yes, it'll follow the patterns of highs and lows. Everything fluctuates up and down. But a lot of stocks are down, and if the companies are good, they will probably come back up at some point.
There's too many Mustangs ordered. I think that's a good company.
I think so too. Yeah. So their EV F-150 truck, I think you've got to get on a long waiting list to get one of those.
That's why you and I made that decision, isn't it?
Yeah. So just be. Sometimes you got to be patient.
Well, we already did our wingman. I'm going to say him again. Paul E. Johnson's our wingman for this show. And by helping people in your family, and the reason he helped them is because he didn't have the opportunity to be a pilot, but he was around them and he loved aviation. And anybody who's a wingman will help others that necessarily doesn't benefit them. But when I met Paul Johnson, he is a true wingman for not just his family, but for a whole lot of people. And I won't forget him. And Dr. Paul, I will tell you this: whatever is beautiful, whatever is meaningful, and whatever brings you happiness, I wish for you now and beyond. And I pray for peace, Dr. Paul.
I pray for peace too. And I hope this year is a great year for you, myself, all our listeners, and everyone they know.
Yes. And let me just say this last thing, because we didn't put it in there: magicmind.co. If you go to magicmind.co, I'll put it on the screen, and you put in the code Wingmen, you'll get 40% off of something that Dr. Paul and I take every day. And we really, really enjoy it. So Magic Mind, thank you. Our listeners out there, thank you. And once again, I pray for peace.
I pray for peace. Cool.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time. And that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.